3 out of 4 churches do not have a welcome ministry.
That's
now, maybe
Danny
that
Frank's fault. There should be more.
Yeah, we're going to blame Danny for this. So we do have Danny on the show today. Some of you may
Oh,
or
I
may
didn't
not
see
know.
him there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's his world, and it's been his world for a while. This has been a problem for a while. So, Danny, all of this is your fault. Welcome to Rainer on Leadership.
And if they're churches that are not healthy, I guess that's Church Answer's fault.
I just spilled coffee all over myself, and that's Danny's fault too.
All of it. I will fall on all of those swords.
Welcome to the show, Danny. Hey, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and why you are.
Yes, well, I am fully accustomed to taking the blame for all sorts of things. Happy to do that in this situation as well. My name is Danny. I'm the pastor of guest services at the Summit Church in North Carolina. Been here for almost 22 years now on staff, and in that role have largely been in the guest services space over the majority of those 22 years. It's been a passion project of mine, one of those jobs I never knew that I wanted. And when I first got started in it, it wasn't really a job that a lot of churches had. And so been a lot of learning curves over the years and figuring things out as we've gone along. But it has just been really enjoyable to see how the Lord has used a lot of our volunteers and others in leadership here who are making it very, very easy for guests who are on the outside to come inside and find out a little bit more about who we are and most importantly, who Jesus is.
Hey, Danny,
Well, we're going to be.
I think you're aware of this, but your church, Summit, is one of 3 churches I attend. I usually, first of all, attend church at Spring Hill because that's where I live most of the time, and Jess is the pastor. Secondly, I'm in Bradenton right now, and that's where Sam is the pastor of Bradenton, Florida. But Summit is where, what's your brother's name? Middle child. Art. That's Art. Yeah, that's where he lives, and that's where he is a member. So because I go to no other churches, don't accept engagements anywhere, you're one of 3 churches. And I got to tell you, your guest services is impeccable. It's really good every time I go. In fact, one time I was there and my son and my grandson were out with their things directing people to the parking spot.
I still have that parking vest that's hanging in the closet waiting on you. Just use some of your Tennessee skills here in North Carolina.
I've got my own. I carry my own. Thank you. I'm sorry, Sam.
Well, we're going to
get back to it.
Yeah, we're going to be talking more with Danny about First Impressions Ministry, hospitality, among a few other things. But before we jump into this interview, we want to thank our sponsor, Upward. Upward Sports is the world's largest Christian youth sports organization. Don't let that intimidate you. That may impress you, but don't let it intimidate you because they can help your church, really any size church. Whether you want to start something with basketball, cheerleading, soccer, flag football, volleyball, baseball, and now running, that's my thing. Excited.
Yeah, he's doing 50 miles this Saturday. 50 miles.
At the time of this recording, yeah. Now, I don't know if this will be my last podcast.
Good gravy train.
At the time that this posts, we'll know, but because this is recorded beforehand. But yeah, running is my thing, and Upward can help you get a running club. You do not have to run 50 miles with Upward. You can run at your pace and in your way. It's a really neat program. So learn more at upward.org/churchanswers. Upward.org/churchanswers. I like Upward because they are a great program, but they help you get into your community and they help get your community to your church. Nobody does it as good as Upward. It's an incredible outreach program. That's what I like to think of them as. This helps your church do outreach.
And I ran 50 miles one year. So I just wanted you to know I've done it as well.
Yes. I'll do it in a day. You'll do it in a year.
I'll do it in a year.
So,
hey, Danny, you've got this fascinating position at Summit. We want to talk things beyond that. You'd begun talking about how you ended up at the ministry Tell us just some of the things that your role encompasses. Obviously, the hospitality ministry, the welcoming ministry. I think you have events and other things too. But tell us all what you are doing currently at Summit.
Yeah, so the team that I oversee, we say that we take care of everything from the street to the seat, the parking lot to the pew. If it is not on stage and not directly related to an age, and it happens on the weekend, it's probably adjacent to or falls directly under the things that we lead out in and do. We also have just recently taken over all major events for the church, so we're giving some leadership to that as well these days. So very practically, that's going to cover our parking team, seating team, first-time guest processes, all of the follow-up that goes along with that. We take care of a lot of the behind-the-scenes volunteer headquarters, just to make sure that our volunteers are well taken care of on the weekend. And all of that falls under the leadership of, because we're a multi-site church, of a localized guest services director. And then I serve in a central role that helps to give leadership to those directors as they give leadership to their campuses.
That is a lot of
So,
stuff. And
yeah, yeah, it
it's not a
is.
small church either.
So I want to talk about how hospitality is underutilized in churches. You know, in my view, this is just my take, and Danny, we can get yours. I would say it's the most underrated of all the spiritual gifts, at least at the current time. In different periods of church history, particularly American church history, it has seen more prominence than at other times. I think we're seeing much less hospitality in churches than what we need right now. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, first of all, I think that hospitality is both an individual mandate, but it's also a corporate expression. And a lot of times when we think about hospitality as a spiritual gift, we think about an individual who has the gift of hospitality. It's very easy for them to talk to a stranger. They open their home often, all of those. And sometimes in churches, we kind of have this dual um, almost an opposing viewpoint, where on one side, we say that we shouldn't have to strategize hospitality. We shouldn't have to institutionalize that, that people should just be friendly on their own. And we don't need to train people to be nice. I would agree with that, but we've all met people who could use a little bit of training in order to be nice. On the other
Oh,
side,
come on,
though,
Danny, quit picking on me.
sometimes it's just that's where it lands. But on the other side, I think that a lot of times churches fall victim to this myth of we're just so friendly. And you'll hear people say that often, and I would agree for the most part. I've rarely been to a church where you don't stand in the back, observe the congregation, and they're shaking hands and hugging necks and catching up on the week, and they're very friendly, but they're friendly to each other. And that's where that systematic, I should say, institutionalized approach to hospitality has to meet those people who feel like they have the gift, the personal gift of hospitality, to make sure that we have the systems and structures in place so that our guests are not falling through the cracks and they don't feel like that it's a place where they're not cared for and they're not welcomed.
And
So
you're talking about basically the welcome time as you step back and watch what's going on. I know it's much broader than that. First of all, if a church hugs people, I'm not going. So I want you to anybody listening to this podcast to know that I do not take random hugs. And that secondly, what you're saying is that it is the number one thing we hear. We're the friendliest church in town. It's internally focused. It's not based upon what they need to be doing to reach and beyond the community, or into the community, I should say. So here's my question. I'm doing all this jabbering to get to the question. Why aren't churches valuing the whole experience of hospitality, welcome ministry? 30% are, maybe 70% aren't, something like that. Why aren't they valuing it more? It is so incredibly important to the life of a church, no matter the size.
Yeah, well, first to address the thing that you just mentioned, I, with my dying breath, will be an opponent to forced friendship during church times. You know, the turn and greet your neighbor. I have a 7-point theology on why that's a terrible idea. We can go into that in detail other times, but I think when it comes to the question of why don't churches pay more attention to this, is because so many times this feels like an extra. It's something that's nice to have if we have time for it. It's something that's nice to have if we can give somebody to give some focus on it. And I would say that as churches, we can't afford not to give a focus on that because, yeah, we're a friendly church. We're the friendliest church in town, but we're, as you said, internally friendly. We're friendly to one another. And it takes a great deal of intentionality for us to walk across the room and to greet somebody that we've never seen before, to make sure that they feel like that we've been friendly to them and we actually have a plan for them and want them to come back.
So we shared with Danny just a few like pointers as to like some of the potential directions that we may head on the podcast. We really don't have much of a script, but I'm going to take you completely off script with this one. I'm going to go right to the qualifications of leaders in the church in 1 Timothy chapter 3. And I think you probably at this point know where I'm going to go, because right there, 1 Timothy 3, and I've got my phone out with the NLT here. It says that very clearly that he must not be able to teach, but right before that, it says he must be willing to have guests in his house. So, at the same level of ability to teach is hospitality. And I've challenged some guys. If you are not willing to open your home, if you're not willing to show hospitality, you're disqualified from ministry. What's your take on that?
Well,
That's a bit harsh. I
almost
know.
on the hot
Totally on the spot.
That's great. Well, and I do think that there is, there is a probably a larger number of pastors than we'd want to admit that are raging introverts. We like our study, we like our sermon prep time, and we tolerate the small talk on the weekend. I heard an interview with a pastor yesterday who said that all of his non-church friendships have been cultivated by his wife because she is actually. What he said, her life is very disordered, but in the most Jesus-centered way that he could possibly imagine, right? Whereas he lives this very ordered lifestyle, she's disordered, but she's highly, highly relational. And I would say that's probably true of my marriage as well. Most of my external outside of church friendships come by hand of my wife. Some of the inside of the church friendships come by her. But I do think that Paul's admonition is absolutely correct. And yes, while he's talking to the individual leader about their individual home, I think that there are nuances there that also apply to the local church, where if a pastor is not willing to think through what is it going to take for us to open our doors to the stranger, to the person who doesn't think like us, believe like us, talk like us, raise their kids like us, if they're not willing to do that, then there's a portion of their ministry that is missing. They are missing out on a huge opportunity to not only be a church that goes and tells, but to be a church who is ready when people come and see. And I think that there's a balance in both of those that we've got to be prepared for, and we've got to lead our people to be prepared for as well.
That's such a diplomatic answer. Thank you. Thank you,
Wasn't that
Danny.
good?
That was
Yeah, we just came out of political season. I've learned from watching debates.
well, it says very clearly that you got to be willing to open your home. And oh, by the way, if you're able to teach too, that's great, right?
Right.
So, but what's first in that list is hospitality. I just thought I'd point that out. It is your world. So there you go.
We got
It's
to
free
know
bonus.
Danny through a new ministry at Church Answers.
So tell us, you are helping us do this, Danny. You are, you've got a role at Church Answers, and it's with a new resource called My Church Staff. So if you're going, Oh man, if you're like Sam, you're a bit strong on this, but okay, I probably need to be a little better. Walk us through what this resource is and why you think it's so important.
Yeah, I've been very excited about my church staff. At the time of this recording, we are just wrapping up the first month of the guest services channel, which is one of a growing number of channels, which is designed to help churches find the leader and to equip the leader to lead in various ministries for positions that they feel like they can't afford. And my church staff is adding these different positions. The channel that I'm leading is guest services, and in that, I'm trying to build an ongoing curriculum that has both a philosophical side to it. Why are we doing this? Because you've got to answer the why before you can move to the what. And then how do we practically do this? We've been really excited to see churches of all shapes and sizes from all over the United States that have been a part of the guest services channel so far. And it gives an opportunity to be able to give some very practical training, equipping, and resourcing to leaders who have a lot of experience, leaders who have no experience, and lead pastors who don't yet have a leader in that role to lead in that experience. And so that's part of the motivation behind my church staff, to help churches of all shapes and sizes grow and hone their skills in specific areas.
Danny, can you hear me?
I can.
Because I keep watching my internet fade out, and it looks like I'm going and coming and all that. It is ironic that this is happening during hospitality. It's like we don't want Thom Rainer commenting at all about hospitality. I just keep
The
watching.
cosmic forces of the universe are
Don't
conspiring
talk,
against you,
Tom.
Dad.
The spirit works in mysterious ways.
Adding to what you have just said and emphasizing what you have just said, this is basically you being the coach to prepare, to train someone to do the ongoing work of this hospitality ministry. And for $100 a month, they get this church staff person. I'll put that, I'm not going to do the air quotes, but I could do air quotes, but it could be someone on staff. It could be someone that you train, but it brings this vital ministry to most churches who did not think they could have it, that it was kind of a luxury that the big churches have. Now you're providing that for others. So you can get this ministry started, but with Danny Franks. And quite honestly, Danny, I don't know anyone who has been in this level of ministry and tenure like you have. It is, there's no one better and there's no one more qualified. So we love having you at Church Answers, and we love the fact that you are expanding your ministry to other churches.
Well, I appreciate that. I've long said I don't have any marketable skills outside of this role, so I'm grateful for you taking me on as a ward there.
Which, by the way, I know you're doing some stuff with Church Answers, and we're very, very grateful for that. But we also want to point people to your content as well, because you produce a lot of quality content. So the way that you can get that is DannyFranks.com, DANNY Franks.com. We'll put a link in the show notes as well. So
let me correct that. I'm sorry to do it. It's actually dfranks.com. DannyFranks.com is a British DJ and the founder of Rump Shaken Records, which I think I've heard y'all talk about maybe on the podcast a few months back. So
no
you can
way.
go to that one. That's an incredibly entertaining site, but mine.
But it ain't you.
Yeah, it's not me. dfranks.com, not the full Danny Franks, just the
I
letter D.
see that now. No, and I'm so glad. Listen, go check out DannyFranks.com.
Absolutely.
And then go to D. This is how people can remember DFranks.com. I'm glad you corrected me on that. I now see that.
I would love to have a tie-in with this guy at some point. I've just never been able to figure it out.
So Danny, the Rump Shaker Franks,
Right.
please go check that out. DFranks.com. Sign up for his newsletter. That's the point that I want to make, is you're going to get quality stuff in your inbox. And I signed up for it. I read it often. And I steal Danny's ideas. We stole his ideas for far too long. We're like, let's just bring him on the Church Answers team. So thank you, Danny.
Absolutely. So Danny, once again, in order to sign up for my church staff, we've got the link in there that people can do that. It's $100 a month for the staff person. No commitment beyond that first month. If you want to get out at any time, you can. You can test it and see how it works. Can you give us just one example? You don't have to give us the person or the church, but just one example of some of the interaction you've had already, even though it's only 30 days old.
Yeah, at 30 days, we've already been able to roll out the initial onboarding videos, which is 10 to 15-minute videos just to give some foundation for things, as well as some assessment tools to help pastors and church leaders figure out where they are. We've done the first of ongoing monthly videos, which is beginning to build a case for how you build a team, how you build a culture within your church. And then we've had some live or a live virtual Zoom call, open office hours, where there was just a virtual room full of us who were just talking about various issues going on at our different churches. Just 75 minutes of just eating lunch and sharing information together. And to your question of an example of who that is, it was everybody from a lead pastor who's still looking for that role, somebody who this is pretty much the primary hat that they wear on their church staff. People in very rural areas, urban areas, people in very small churches and medium to larger churches. So it's an eclectic bunch. It's a really wide diverse group of people. But the important thing is we're not teaching one specific way to do guest services, because with every single church, there's going to be different ways of doing it. And so, as I've told these folks, you can cut and paste the principles. That's easy, but you have to do the work of developing your own particulars according to your own context.
Danny, this is going to be fun. Sam, it looks like you have one question, then I'll wrap it up.
No, I was gonna talk about Rooted, because I'm kind of excited about Rooted.
You go right on and do that, Danny. And I'll say thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of the team. And I'll let Sam close us out.
Thank you very much. Good to be with y'all.
Yeah, we are excited to tell you about the Rooted experience, which can help you create a discipleship culture that connects your people and leads to ongoing life change. So Rooted's this proven plan for helping people connect to God, their church, and their purpose. It's more than curriculum, although you can certainly use it as curriculum. I absolutely love this program, and it is truly an opportunity to change the culture of your church. So you can learn more at experiencerooted.com/church answers. Again, experiencerooted.com/church answers. Link in the show notes as well. Give you a free resource and some videos there to help you understand exactly what Rooted is. Many churches have been adopting this, and they have done extraordinarily well. So this is a growing program that seems to be getting more and more popular. So I'd encourage you to go check out Rooted. I know the guys over there. They do an incredible job, and they really good writers. Oh, Rooted has some incredible writers, some amazing talent. Dad Earl Robertson's leading this program. Many people may not know who he is, but he is the best of the best. He has assembled an incredible team. Every church should be looking into this.
I absolutely love Earl, his leadership ability. I love the vision of Rooted. It came from the mission field to the local church, and it is truly this wonderful discipleship plan for churches. So get on to Rooted. And don't forget also, there's a link there to my church staff and guest services too. So you got the Rooted link and that. All right, Sam, I've said enough. You can close us out.
Just want to thank everyone for joining us today on Rainer on Leadership. As Jonathan Howe used to say, your online home for leadership lessons and advice for the local church. I think I have that right. I heard it enough that I finally memorized it. Now I get to say it. So thank you, Jonathan. For those of you who've been listening for a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who are new, it's good to see you, particularly if you're on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, the Church Answers channel. We're constantly putting out free content. I'll let you decide if it's quality or not. So if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, and give us a rate or a review in your favorite podcasting app. We are now at 2 episodes per week, so we will see you soon.